Happy Friday and welcome. Good morning, Aurora. So super excited to be here today. Welcome to Aurora Health Hustle, where we talk about real issues and give real results. I'm your host today, Felicia Thomas Williams, and I'm so super excited to be here in November and talking about diabetes. We are officially in Diabetes Awareness Month, and I don't have to tell you how very, very important this topic is. This is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm super excited to be hosting a segment. As we know, diabetes affects millions of people in our community. Specifically, we see so much higher risk and early onsets by a lot of people of color. And I'm just so very passionate about this because it has impacted so many people in my family. And I just think that we need to talk more about it and have far more awareness about it. It's powerful. The awareness itself is powerful, and the action is even more powerful. Today, I'm joined by someone who has lived this journey personally and continues to show up with strength and self-advocacy. And oh my God, Miss Mary Fultz. If you guys don't know who Mary Fultz is, you will after today. Mary Fultz is an absolutely amazing powerhouse in the community. She is the founder of CAN, Community Awareness. She does everything. She is the woman in Aurora. I'm gonna give you your flowers because you need them. Okay. So we're gonna get right into it, and we're gonna talk to Mary and kind of go through her journey, her personal journey with diabetes, and she's going to speak candidly so that you guys hopefully will take away some nuggets that can definitely impact your life. So Mary, we're going to get right into it. And my first question, can you share your story of when and how you were first diagnosed? Let's start there.
Okay. So my story is that it was unexpected. Mm-hmm. I got up one morning not feeling well. I'm a stroke survivor, and I had those feelings like in my body, and that wasn't normal. Okay. And so then my guy Andre was like what's wrong? And it was like wires in my body, like my vision was blurry. Mm-hmm. And so he said, no, we're going to the ER. So we go to the ER, and respectfully, I had an African-American doctor. And they always do blood work first. She comes back, sure. and she was very angry. And she says to me, well, why didn't you tell me that you had diabetes? And he's like, she don't have no diabetes. And I'm like, diabetes? I don't have diabetes. What are you talking about? And then she says that there's no way that you can tell me with your numbers where they are that no one told you had diabetes. And I'm just stunned. Flabbergasted, because here I am going to the doctor every month for blood pressure, checkups every single month, not missing a month. How did you miss me having diabetes?
And this was the same doctor that you were
seeing? No, I was seeing the same doctor for years. Diabetes was never mentioned.
Really?
And then no, never. And so when she said that, it was just, and I had uncontrolled, like high glycemia. Is what I was dealing with at the time, mm-hmm. and didn't know what that was, and so I was admitted in the hospital and everything, had to go through all this, had to go to my doctor to get properly diagnosed, and didn't start medicine, and I'm gonna tell you, I cried like a baby. I cried like my mom and daddy died. I just couldn't believe it. Everything that I had been delivered from, the cancer, stroke, and everything, why this, why now? Okay. And it was a different journey for me after that.
Wow, yeah. Wow. Can you share a little bit more about what were the symptoms you were experiencing when you noticed something's not right here? Can you talk more about that? The feelings that you talked about you had in your body, can you explain that to our viewers what that was like?
And see, it's kind of weird when I looked at the question, because it was an onset. So I could tell you what my body felt like then.
Sure. Yep.
To know what it's like, when people are sick, instead of going to the doctor for that reason, mm-hmm. or to find out what's wrong, I didn't have that.
Okay.
So it was just that morning I got up, went to the emergency room. Then after that, you start trying to figure it out. It becomes mental, like, well, why are they saying this, or why is this happening? Then I was immediately put on glipizide and another medication that everybody takes, but I had to come off of the medicine. Okay. And so then it was, you had to deal with the medicines, playing with them, going back and forth.
Sure.
And I stayed in out of the hospital so much. that every time like my vision got to blurry, because your eyes are very important when it comes to diabetes.
Absolutely.
Protecting your kidneys is very important, because with the high sugar levels and stuff, that you'll end up with chronic kidney damage. You'll go into other stuff. So the symptoms that someone else would explain, they probably can give you the answer better than me, like dealing with it, because I had an onset, not even knowing that's what was going on.
Sure. Okay. So I'm hearing you say blurred vision was a big thing that you noticed, and I know that is a common thing that I hear with diabetes. That's something that some people experience, including thirst, the frequent urination. Did you have any of those symptoms? I'm just curious.
Well, that
was noticed.
That night I did. And then that was the weird thing, like my mouth was like hot and dry, no matter how much water I drank.
Got it.
And then like the constant freaking urinating all through the night. It was just weird. And then by that morning, it's daylight now, like, why am I feeling like this? And then I realized I couldn't hardly see good. So that's what made me start thinking stroke symptoms or something like that, the way my body was feeling. And then when I went to the hospital, they told me something totally different.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like every episode I'm having an issue with just the information that we're getting with our healthcare, our medical staff and all the things, our doctors, and, are we really getting the information we need at the time? And at some point we're going to bring some medical staff on this show to interview them about this, because there's some things that I feel like we just need to get more clarity on when it comes to understanding the testing and things of that nature, and then the results, and then specifically the panels. And that's one of the things that I'm pretty passionate about, is making sure people understand the numbers. What do they really mean when it comes to the diagnosis and staying within normal ranges and stuff like that. So thank you for sharing that. The next thing I want to kind of talk about is, what were the biggest lifestyle factors that contributed to your diagnosis? Do you feel like there was a certain way you were eating before that may have contributed to that, versus how you've had to adjust that now going forward? Let's talk about that.
Okay. And so for me, at that time when I got diagnosed, I was, it's going to be funny. I was trying to tell the doctor, I said, no. I said, if my levels are up, I said that, I'm like a juice drinker. Okay. I didn't eat food a lot. And I was a Girl Scout troop leader and stuff. And as I'm going and doing so much in the community, that I didn't eat a lot. So, I could stop and get a juice, or, I'm not a coffee drinker, cocoa, whatever. I really wasn't eating food like that.
Got it.
So then I said that, well, maybe it's the slushies. This is me at the slushies at Burger King. Because literally, when I'm leaving out, I stop and I get an icy. I come back, I stop and get an icy. I might have forgotten to eat that day.
Okay, because you're so busy.
So the only thing that was going in my body was that, you know what I'm saying? And I could be in the event, don't eat the whole time, on the way home, stop and get another icy. So I told them, I said, no, I don't think I got diabetes. I think it's just, the ices, the drinks I'm taking in, because I see people saying they're doing juice diets all the time.
Right.
So if you don't know you have diabetes, guess what? That onset is already there, but you don't know it.
Right.
And then one day, what happened to me is that I got diagnosed, and at that time I was juicing.
Got it.
Yeah.
And the thing about it for me with the juices, I think we have to be careful with the type of juices, because you definitely want to make sure it's 100% juice, if we were to get into that conversation, and not the added sugars, because that's the stuff is how it's going to really be impacted inside of your blood sugar.
That's true.
Your gut determines all of that, how your body is going to respond. I'm not going to get off into the weeds there, but I think the juice, to me, is one of the way we put so much more sugar, and we got to just be more intentional with understanding how does my body respond to these things, right? So how has that changed your diet now going forward? What kind of shifts have you made?
That's for sure. I miss my ices, but making the changes. Remember, I'm saying that I wasn't a big eater,
right?
And so even my mom would get at me like that. Girl, do you ever eat food? And it's like then my digestive system had to change to that. It had to relate to, now you're putting this foreign stuff in your body, but it's supposed to be normal.
It's adjusting.
Okay,
yeah.
So then I'm trying to eat food. Then I started with the digestive problems, because my whole, I don't care what kind of diet somebody does, which I wasn't doing a juice diet.
Right.
That was my
That
food.
was just your normal day-to-day.
That was my food.
Yeah.
And so now I'm trying to eat meat, and, even salads, were bothering me. you know. So within trying to watch your numbers, I wasn't good at it at all. It took me a long time to figure that out. Okay, I don't like needles.
Yep.
Now I gotta be. I mean, every little, you know, I'm just dying. You know what I'm saying? All at
the prick of the finger was the problem.
And I would tell them, I said, how come it hurts so bad when you do it, you know, versus when I do it, you know, because I'm trying to be gentle and trying to look away, and they just do it, you know.
Yeah.
And so getting used to the needles was hard for me. Trying to do the food, you know, and then the doctor I was seeing at that time, well, he was out of the country, the nurse practitioner, made me feel a little comfortable, because then he told me that he was diabetic. And I said, really? But it's a little thin, you know, Chinese man, right? And I'm like, well, why am I picking up because my weight gain started coming. And to me, it was because I put this food in my body. Everything has changed for me. So I didn't like the weight gain. So it made me not want to eat food. And then they're saying, well, you have to feed, you know, they said you have to feed diabetes. You have to eat. You have to do the carbs. So I was trying to eliminate sugars altogether. Then I changed over to a diabetes doctor, endocrinologist, how you say their name. And then she's like, no, you have to have the sugars too. I'm like, no, I'm diabetic. And she's like, you need to go to a diabetes educator. And so they can try to help you figure some of this out. And so I did that, and that's another story though.
Got you. If you were to say, and I heard you say that all the different things trying to bring actual food into your body versus just having the sugars. So if you were to say there was one change that made the biggest difference in your health when it comes to that, your diet, what would it have been that you notably can say?
The sugars. The foods that had the sugars, learning about the
foods that were having that impact on your body. Let me ask you this question, because you did the finger pricks with the lancets and the strips. Have you ever been just solely on a CGM, the CGM, the continuous glucose monitor? Have you felt? Okay, and do you feel like that helps you even more?
Yeah,
have awareness.
It makes you. And when you told me to turn the phone off, I panicked because see, this is what I have a friend named Mike that keeps telling me. He says, don't feed too much into it. He said it'll drive you crazy.
Right.
So when you said turn the phone off, the glucose monitor is Bluetooth to the phone. So with me turning it off, this ain't gonna sound off if I have if I get a quick low or something, it's not gonna do what it needs to be doing. And so you're constantly like, I need to hear that. You know, like, as soon as you said that, I was like, okay, I gotta turn it off though. 30 minutes shouldn't kill me. You know, I took my insulin already this morning. But you're constantly thinking about this. But getting this Dexcom is not easy. Insurance plays a big role.
And coverage.
The doctor that you have plays a big role. There's a lot of documentation that has to go in. And like the doctor that I had, my primary care doctor, couldn't do this or wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't prescribe it or write the prescription for it?
Because there's a lot of follow-up they have to do, a lot of paperwork they have to do, a lot of reporting that they have to do. And I got a phone call the other day where the glucose monitor people called because I had went to my 3-month doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
The doctor has to send notes over to them just for you to keep getting this. You don't just get it and just going about your life. That's not how it works. Or the insurance will not cover for you to be able to get them. Yeah.
So, and I know that is, having a CGM, I think, is life-changing.
It is.
When it comes to, and I'll say this, I'm just going to say this piece really quickly, because obviously it's life-changing for someone that has diabetes, totally. But I think it also is life-changing for people that need to understand how is food impacting my body and my health now as I get in a second chapter of my life. Because things that worked one way for us, especially when you start getting into menopause, ladies, food happens, things happen differently. You may not be, your body responds differently through lack of estrogen. So and I know, if I had my way, everybody would have a CGM on. I'm just gonna be honest, 100%.
Me too. I feel 100%. Like that.
Because it could be something like a red bell pepper that can spike your blood sugar and is healthy. But that's not probably the best item you should be eating for many reasons.
Right.
So I think just knowing the role that plays in a doctor's responsibility with making sure that stays covered, I think that's definitely very helpful for everyone to know. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to ask this. So I think historically people think that diabetes is just about cutting out the sugar, and you kind of mentioned that. And that's where I'm going. It's so much deeper than it. What have you learned? And I think you've kind of spoke a little bit, but I want to give you an opportunity to go a little bit deeper there if you'd like to share more. What have you learned about nutrition, movement, and mindset when it comes to this journey? Please share that.
The movement part, exercise is important. Unfortunately, it's a lot of things that I can't do that the doctor wanted me to do, for my limitations, right? With my arm and stuff, and the walking or whatever. And so it's like, what do you do? What can I do outside of that? So I do the water aerobics. So I have someone with me while I'm exercising in case something happens, because a mixture of doing the exercise helps keep your stress level down. A lot of people don't realize that stress plays a lot into diabetes as well.
Ooh, girl, you preaching.
It does.
Absolutely.
And so when you can eliminate some of those stresses out of your life, whether it's family, friends, or whatever, slow down on what you're doing, focus some on you. Like they would tell me, like, if you could just walk, 30 minutes a day, that helps out. Push it up to 35. Don't try to go 30, 60. Go 30, 35, 40, and make sure you're comfortable, with it. And check your levels while you're doing. So I was trying that, but the old leg got in the way. Okay. I did try, and it was better. It honestly, it was trickling, and my numbers were better. So then when you think about your medication, taking it like you're supposed to take it, but then again, your medicine's going to change all the time. And a big change, I'm pretty sure a lot of people can identify with this. With the new administration from the up top, the pharmaceutical thing, the medicines, the co-pays, everything has changed. All of my insulin changed at one time. I freaked out. I'm like, well, what am I supposed, but you know how I knew it changed? When I went to the pharmacy.
Okay.
I identify my medication by colors. Okay. So my long acting is my blue, my short acting is this. And then it was like, well, wait a minute, you're telling me to keep taking this. Now, what is this going to replace? Guess what? The people at the pharmacist didn't even know which way to tell me. I need to call back to my doctor to see what they actually wanted me to do. And then I also do a sliding scale.
Okay.
Because even with 5 years in, when you have other components in your body, health issues, you're not going to have you're not going to have a regimen across the board.
Okay.
So that's why I deal with a sliding scale. So recently I just had it where I was taking, I ended up with a exacerbation from asthma. And I started taking, silly me, instead of going to the doctor, I took NyQuil. Well, NyQuil, my sugars were out of here. I was going to
say, yeah.
I was up, urinating. I'm like, what is wrong with me, So then I didn't have my Dexcom on.
So you didn't know.
So, right. So then, I try to take a shower and everything, get the steam and everything for asthma. Then I said, let me get my Dexcom on. And again, mentally, I got to have this, And when I took it off, I wasn't feeling well, so I didn't put it back on. That happened. So then when I got it on, my sugars was way high. I'm like, but why? Well, why though? Like, what am I doing so different? But I got to take more medicine. I'm like, what is going on here? So I happened to be on Facebook, and I think these phones Big Brother just all over the place, because as you're talking about stuff with people, then something came on there talking about medicine, cough syrup for people with diabetes, people with high blood pressure. So I get that medicine. When I first was taking it, it was like, okay, I guess. Numbers were like high but lower. But as I kept taking it, it started shooting up again. So I got a doctor's appointment next week to try to figure out, you got to help me figure out what I can take, what I can't take. Everybody's not the same. Everybody's body, everybody's sugar levels is not going to be the same, because then you get into your A1C. And the A1C is something that, I was at like 18, came down to 15 finally, got on the Trulicity, it brought it down more. Then I got, doing, walking, doing whatever I could do, my diet, try to watch my numbers and everything. And then my numbers came down to 8.0.
That's really good.
Well, it jumped back up taking that medicine. And I didn't even know, but it's my numbers.
Sure.
But then on the Dexcom can also help you with your A1C, but I just learned my last doctor's appointment I had, what people were telling me was not true with the A1C, is that they say on the Dexcom glucose monitor we have on the phone, that it's telling you that that's your A1C. Well, my doctor says that's not your current A1C. That's what your A1C would be in 3 months if you do whatever you're doing
if you're doing
right now.
everything you
Right.
So it sounds like there is a lot of intentionality that is going into living with a disease like type 2 diabetes. And it's a lot of things that are trial and error, but you also have to do your own advocating and your own education.
Yes.
And that is so, so important. You have to learn how your body is going to, what it's doing now and how it's going to respond as you move forward. And then you have to involve your medical team when you need to. This is good stuff. I mean, and I love it.
I love that.
The movement.
I mean, because head educated doctors, nobody could figure out. So I'm being honest. Educated doctors, nobody could figure out. So I'm being honest. I was being accused of not taking the medicine. They thought because I had the phobia of the needles, right? But and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm sticking myself every day, you know, like one in the leg, one here. Never shoot yourself in the same spot.
Why is that?
When you do that, you build up scar tissue.
Oh.
So what happened was I'm steady doing it, go to Girl Scouts or whatever, steady doing it, but I'm not feeling well. And one day I didn't have my Dexcom because I fell because I was, the symptoms were coming and I didn't know, but I had the Dexcom. So when I fell against the car, it had loosened it, but I didn't know. So I drove from the east side to the west side to Greenman School. I'm in there with the kids and noticing like something's happening, but then all of a sudden I couldn't talk. My sugar had dropped to 15. So luckily the nurse was still there and they had got her and she was like, are you diabetic or whatever? And then they started giving me stuff. It wasn't helping. It got me to 20. They had to call the ambulance and I ended up in the ER Mercy Center almost in a diabetic coma.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. And that's all because of putting it in the same...
It was scar tissue. It was scar tissue. So I cannot shoot myself in my stomach. It can only be in my arms, my legs. I can't reach my butt a lot, but yeah, so I can. Other people can, but I can't.
That is a really good takeaway, though, because that's something that I think our viewers should be aware of, is just knowing that in general. I know we're running short on time, but I want to ask this other question. For listeners who may be pre-diabetic or at risk, what's one piece of advice or action step you'd encourage them to take today to start taking better control of their health?
Okay. The first thing that, just in case you ever get if you don't want to have it, eat right. Make sure that your doctors are running your blood tests. The blood tests are important because that's what we found out. Even though I was going to the doctor every month, they weren't running blood tests when I was going to my routine blood workup. It wasn't happening.
Okay.
If they would have been doing that, they probably would have figured out. So the testing is very important. And then just in case you get the onset of your prediabetes, don't let it be the end of life like I thought it was going to be, because diabetes is a chronic illness. And most people think it's a condition. It's not a condition.
Right.
It is an illness, but it's controllable. It is controllable. And then when people say that, can you ever get rid of it? If you have prediabetes, guess what? If you do everything right, you don't even have to have diabetes. That can be reversed before you go into full-blown diabetes. So I wish I knew, the changes that I could have made before that happened to me, but the right tests have to be there.
Okay, and just having consistency with that and advocating. I'm hearing this again. The self-advocacy is super important when it comes to that, making sure that your doctor is doing their part to make sure that you're doing what that everybody is, there's synergy. That it has to be on the medical staff as well as yourself, and then doing the extra things that you need to do to take control of not letting this condition take control of you, but taking control of your self-advocacy and doing what you need to do in that regard. We are getting close. One other question I'm just going to ask, because I don't think I heard you say it. We got about 3 minutes here. Was there any family history of diabetes?
The weird thing is that, like I said, I like to die, thought my mom and daddy are dead or something like that, the way I cried and acted a fool, that after the fact, they diagnosed my mom. My mom's numbers be so good, and it's another thing, her numbers were so good, but then with her blood work up, they're still saying she was diabetic. Recently, about 2 months ago, my sister is diagnosed. Then my younger sister had got diagnosed. I'm like, how all of a sudden after, me at this age, and then all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying?
You set the tone for everybody,
It was like it was an epidemic in our family all of a sudden. But then I found out through my father, who I didn't find until I was 38. And this is a big one. I'm talking to the microphone now. But to know, and like if your mom and dad is not together, know both sides.
Absolutely.
That is so important, because then I find out on my father's side that diabetes is there.
Okay.
My aunts had it. I said, well, maybe that's where I got it from. But wait a minute, now how does that feed in? Because me and my sisters don't have the same father. So then how did, and then my mom all of a sudden, now they're telling her she don't need to take the insulin or whatever. So you don't even know. It's an epidemic, like you said, that plagues our African-American community. And I see more and more of it every day, that statistic is really true. Why? I can't answer that, but it is really true.
Yeah. We're going to definitely shed light on, from my perspective, being in the health and wellness space, an advocate for many, many years, a certified health coach. So I understand it with the education, but we are just about out of time. Mary, it's always an honor. It's always my pleasure to have and sit with you. Thank you so much for your honesty, your transparency, and your courage. Your story is a reminder that we don't have to wait for crisis to start caring for ourselves. We can start today.
Absolutely.
So people, if you have anyone that needs to check out this episode, talk to your people. Make sure they are getting information from their families, both sides, and they know where they land when it comes to risk for diabetes. And until next time, this is Aurora Health Hustle. Have a great day.
God bless. Thank you.